How about there we go. Okay. Now y'all can hear me. Like I said, technical difficulties. When you update software, sometimes things get funky, but we're good now. We should be good now. Hopefully you guys can hear me on YouTube. We're over here on X, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, not Instagram, because there's a stream key and that takes too long to put it in. I probably should be doing that. So anyway, it was what I was trying to tell you guys before I was told that you couldn't hear me. Is that we were in Opal earlier this week. It's a family office conference that was there in California. I was able to speak on stage there and talk about the tokenization of assets, RWAs, and really that panel ended up focusing more on security features for people that are operating in this space, which is fine. I think people, if you're not, using two-factor authentication, if you're not making sure that things are multi-sig or things are put together in the right way, you can absolutely open yourself up to potential problems, and that's not good. So hopefully, you are in institutional custody with us at Anchorage. If you have a large amount of digital assets, that's going to give you the best protection that exists out there. But if you don't quite have enough for that, then, if there's a multi-sig wallet, I know Ledger just launched a multi-sig option on their wallets, but I'm pretty confident that there's a few other options out there. Decent has the biometric, it's multi-factor authentication in order to be able to access your wallet there. And that's why we promote them. There's, I think that's probably one of the best cold wallets that's out there. Tangem, there's a bunch of other good ones too. So, we'll get a little bit into the macro here, and then we'll jump into the questions, which you guys always have fantastic questions on the Monday night and the Wednesday night lives. And I don't know if you saw, but Jim and I had a pretty big deal today. They're going to be the XRP ROUSD listed on their platform, which is a big deal. And then in addition to that, they have predictive markets. The CFTCs allowed them to basically compete with poly market that's out there. A lot of people obviously participating in that forum, betting on if things are going to go one way or the other. It's an interesting way to be able to hedge yourself. A lot of people use derivatives or options to be able to take a strong position in the market and then pay, a small amount of premium over a period of time for basically insurance in case they're wrong. A lot of the hedge fund managers we work with do that. Some of the strategies that we put out that our clients participate in. And, with predictive markets, that'll be really interesting to see, how those mature over time. They believe that those could actually be larger than the securities markets. And I believe it. People like to gamble, So it'd be interesting to see how all that plays out, but there definitely needs to be competition. I mean, Polymarket's pretty much monopolized that whole space. So very interesting to see them get that. One of the Winklevoss twins tweeted that out. They beat me out into a speaking gig. I was talking to a guy earlier today that was looking at having me on a panel, but the Winklevoss twins took it. So I can't get mad at him. You know what I mean? Like, those guys are OGs. Obviously, they own Gemini. They've done very well with Bitcoin and a lot of other things. And so I'm just happy that Gemini finally has XRP on their platform, and they have the XRP card. So, if you are looking for options out there, I think Uphold is probably the strongest option if you're looking to get cash back in XRP. We obviously had Nancy Beaton here on our channel, and that has been a fantastic interview. Many people have watched that over and over and over again. I appreciate you guys taking the time to do that. And that's probably a good cue for me to remind you, if you do get value from this content, it does help the algorithm. It helps us out. If you would like, subscribe, share this content with somebody else that you think they would find it valuable. It is very much appreciated if you do that. So there's a lot of things moving in the market here. We'll get into the oil. I'm sure you guys have questions about the tanker that was seized, the Venezuelan tanker, by the U.S. government today. I'm telling you, I am still feel very strongly that things could happen very aggressively here at the end of the year. And I am closely watching oil every single day because that is going to be the catalyst that catapults everything forward here by driving the inflation there in Japan, them having to aggressively raise interest rates, which will cause the reverse carry trade to unwind, a rotation out of US treasuries into domestic treasuries there in Japan. Our treasuries will flood the market, but luckily we have the stablecoin bill passed earlier this year. So we will have demand for those treasuries here domestically, which will shore up markets. But the rest of the markets are going to see a big fall, a big tumble to the downside. Anything that's risk on, you're starting to see Bitcoin lead the stock market. I was having a conversation with the family office just the other day about this. It's kind of hyper liquid in comparison to the stock market, but it's definitely risk on, and it's been highly correlated to stocks. When we've had expansions in our economy, we've had expansions in the crypto market, almost to a T correlated with both. So if you want to say Bitcoin is a hedge against inflation, I could probably get with that. But it is definitely a risk on asset, and it definitely follows M2 money supply and very closely Tether. As more Tether is printed, Bitcoin tends to rise alongside that because there's more liquidity in crypto. So, we're seeing markets fall a little bit right now, trending sideways, still within a band, nothing too crazy. But I do think that in the very near future, we're going to see even more volatility, both to the downside and the upside for certain assets. And hopefully you're positioned appropriately to take advantage of those things. If you're watching this, nothing here is financial advice. It's only for entertainment, educational purposes only. And if you need financial advice, you should consult a financial advisor. And if you need one, again, you can go to Digital Wealth Partners. You guys probably already know the spiel. I'm not a financial advisor, can't give you financial advice, but our team over there can. You just go to digitalwealthpartners.net. So without further ado, I'm sure you guys have lots of questions, and I have some type of answer. And if I don't, I'm going to tell you I don't know, and we will move on to the next one. But I appreciate all the super chats and the time that you guys take out of your schedule to come hang out with me. We got Trish. She says, "Hey, Jake, just wanted to thank you so much for being a great teacher on finance to all of us. What number do you think XRPN will rest at after the merger?" When I looked at it last time, it was trading at like 10, 11 bucks. So that's a SPAC deal where they're going to move the XRP. They've raised $1 billion worth of XRP. A portion of that was Michael Arrington's fund. You've had many other people contribute to that, including Claire Larson. Uphold has a small little piece in that, and many others. I'm excited about what Michael Arrington and the team over there are doing. Ashish and then David Schwartz, obviously, becoming part of the board and kind of rolling up to the board there at Ripple. Seeding DeFi protocols on the XRPL is a big deal. And I do think that they are going to trade above the NAV. Right now, Vivo Power and a few other DATs are out there. They just haven't had the traction that one really has. And again, the people involved kind of speak for itself. I don't know. I don't know where that price of that stock is going to trade. I'll tell you one that I did participate in 2020. So, I talk about Google, Facebook, Amazon, Tesla. Those were the majority of my positions, but I did take a flyer on Nikola. You guys may remember that it was not a good thing how it ended up. They just took an 18-wheeler up to the top of a hill and let it roll all the way down, and they filmed a commercial like they had a hydrogen fueled 18-wheeler. Big scam. But they did go through a SPAC, and I remember buying the shares of the SPAC at around, it was pre-merger, at around 12 bucks, and that ran all the way up to $75 at the peak before it crashed back down. I didn't get that high. I think I sold out around 50 bucks because that was about the time that I was rotating everything from the stock market into crypto. But SPAC deals can go very well, and then they can also go very poorly. I do think that XRPN is going to do very well. And buying it now before the merger happens, you would see upside. You normally don't see the ticker change before the SPAC deal's done. So that's unique to this. There's not a whole lot of instances where that has occurred. XRPN probably going to do very well. I don't know if it'll get the same multiple that XRP will if the SPAC happens post price appreciation, which I do think is likely. I think it'll be Q1 when they finalize that SPAC deal. So the valuation should jump substantially with the assets moving into the company. But there also could be speculation on the stock that drives it much higher before then too. So either way, sounds like a good play to me. It's not something that I own, but if it's in, if you're dealing with traditional portfolio management, you might look at that if it's on your radar. AJ, he says, great seeing you again. Don't be upset at those who keep asking about the end of the year price. You're a beacon of light for so many. Stay the course, brother. Appreciate you, man. Look, and I've said this lots of times. I am extremely confident that you see a significant jump in XRP's price this year to 3 digits. I wouldn't come on here and say it if I wasn't. I wouldn't say that I'm 99.99999% sure if I really wasn't. Now, it requires catalysts. And with the seizing of the oil tanker today, with everything that is transpiring, with all of these situations that are taking place with the CFTC and the OCC and all of the regulators running toward this asset class to be able to use it, I'm highly confident again that we are going to see at least the settlement, maybe some swift adoption, maybe the back end of the stock market, but you're going to have enough liquidity in the asset. We are going to have to see a huge rotation of volume into XRP through the ETFs. We got 21 shares going live tomorrow. We also have 2 other ETFs that I'll speculate on. You got Truth Social, which has a 19% allocation to XRP. And you have BlackRock that filed their BlackRock ETF, just BlackRock ETF. And they haven't filed the S1 to show what's in it yet. But they filed and is it either an 8A or an 8A8? I'm not sure which order those numbers are in, but it's a filing basically stating that they're going to file for that BlackRock ETF. I'm going to speculate that the BlackRock ETF that doesn't say anything about XRP in the name is going to be predominantly XRP. And if that is the case, then that is going to be the catalyst for the big move into XRP. We got Vanguard offering these ETFs to their clients here recently. It's all culminating for the end of the year for everybody to have a very, very fun Christmas here in 2025 if you're holding certain digital assets, XRP in particular. Again, at stake, this is not financial advice. Do not make financial decisions based on my information here. I'm just some guy on the internet, but I will continue to buy XRP every single day, leading up to the price appreciation that I do think is imminent here. So you make your own choices. We're all adults here, but I'm betting big on it. And if you think, you want to do some research and understand what you're doing, you probably do pretty well too. So again, I'm not sweating it. I know there's a lot of people out there chirping that I only have 20 days left or however many days it is left. I don't care. Again, I'm very confident in what I said. So if that's good enough for you, it's good enough for me. And I'll just say this, the results will speak for themselves at the end of it. We got retired fire chief. He says, hey, Jake, I bought some sprinkler supplies from a website that ships from SoCal, and one of the payment options was XRP. Cool. That was a shot in the arm and more validation that we are in the right place. Thanks for all that you do. That's pretty cool, man. Thanks for sharing that. There's definitely going to be a lot more people that are taking XRP as far as payment in the very near future. There's just a ton of applications where I think people are going to want to do that, especially if they believe the asset's going to continue to appreciate over time. Why wouldn't you want to get paid in it? Just like Bitcoin or whatever else you think is better than fiat currency, right? This person says that the Clarity Act needs to pass the Senate. No, it does not. It actually provides a greater leverage and moat for XRP if the Clarity Act has not been passed. And we talked about that over there on Good Evening Crypto with Abs and Johnny, if you guys want to go watch that one. We've got Elite Sales Leader. They say, my man, with SPVs, or SPY, excuse me, SPY near highs, oil flat, XRP muted, and the JPY retracing hard despite Fed cuts. Retracing hard? You call that retracing hard? Sorry, I'll read the rest of the question here. Do you see this as normal macro behavior or coordinated volatility suppression as global systems transition to a new financial rails, new timeline, be elite? It's come down like 0.03% on the 10-year. It almost tapped 2%. And then it's pulled back. I think when I looked earlier, it was like 1.93. So I would not say it's pulled back hard at all on the JPY. It's a very normal move for it, especially after the expansion that it had in the run up, to have a small, pullback before it continues to run up. Very normal in this in a macro cycle, like we're coming to the end of. Yeah, but SPY. If you're in stocks, I would go have a conversation with your manager again. I can't give you financial advice. If you work with us, we're gonna have some choice words, and probably look at allocating more to bonds or something that's much less risky than stocks right now. PE ratios are absolutely ridiculous. I actually had a little bit of a debate with a gentleman that was at the family office conference, and he brought up some good points. He talked about, the Mag 7, if you took those out, PE ratios are actually somewhere around 17 to 18, which to him, seemed like normal. That's still a little high, in my opinion. I'd like to see somewhere around 14, 15 for PE ratios for time to buy stocks. So I do think that you're going to see a regression to the mean, and probably even reversal from the mean. Probably some downside risk in stocks, pretty substantial, especially on the other side of the reverse carry trade unwinding. I think that stocks could be in for a 50% haircut, and I do think there'll be a very quick reversal when that happens. I think they're going to be able to spring out of there when they're able to de-risk on the backside, and we have instant settlement of the back into the stock market, and you have all of these other technologies rolling out very quickly. I do think that we're going to have an economic expansion on the other side of the reverse carry trade unwinding. I just think there's going to be a global price repricing of assets when that unwinds, because all that margin is going to get pulled out of the system and sucked back to Japan when it happens. It is a global credit call, effectively. $20 trillion, just about $20 trillion that will be pulled out of markets globally. It's really not going to matter where you have your money. It's going to be a rough go for anybody owning really anything. But on the other side of that, you should see, a reduction in cost of living also. So people think about, their assets falling in value. Sure, that's not fun. But as far as your, purchasing power, it should remain pretty stable. I don't know that you're going to have a big drop off in purchasing power for what you have if the rest of the pricing drops across the board too. This person's asked, when will the Clarity Act pass? Likely in 2026, Q1 of 2026 is my projection. So we're right here at the end of a cycle. Everything that I'm looking at still right on track. I don't have any concerns whatsoever for the outcome I've been talking about for over 18 months now. We've got All Money in 589. He says, Mr. Legend, thank you and your team so much for all that you do. Carbon One member, let's go. Awesome, dude. Glad to have you there in the mastermind. Again, I stated this Monday, but we are going to shut off the $2 admission over there to the mastermind on the 15th. If you do want to get into the mastermind and try it out before, things are going to be a higher price, there'll be standard pricing after that. It'll be a minimum of $25 for social. We would love to have you. Go check it out, beyondbroke.com, and use the code beyondbroke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO like Mary Oscar gets you the first month for $2 there in social or Carbon One. And again, appreciate the kind words and for you being part of the community there. Post price appreciation, we're locking it down. Nobody else will be allowed in. It'll be invite only. It'll be a minimum of $1,000 to participate there in the Beyond Broke Mastermind. Wayne, my man, he says, what are some important dates or events coming up for Ripple, XRP, or just crypto in general? That further push us, golly, can't read tonight, that further push us to mainstream adoption. I mean, well, we had ISO go live last month on the 22nd, which really has nothing to do with crypto whatsoever, but it is a precursor or something that needs to be in place before you could have or implement instant settlement. You need standardized messaging across all the banks so that then when they reconcile that data, it matches directly, and then you literally don't have to reconcile the data. So you don't have 2 or 3 days of going back and forth and making sure everything's right for a payment to get deposited. You can make that attribution real time when the settlement happens. So got that piece in place. The hard cutoff for that is Jan 1. 97% after that weekend of the cutover were moving through ISO. But there's still some stragglers out there, and I think they wanted to give them just a little bit more time. So Jan 1 is the hard cutoff for that. We had Bitnomial launch their derivative or their commodities trading for Bitcoin, ETH, and XRP on Monday of this week. Huge deal there. Huge for the derivatives market because now all of those can be used as collateral for derivatives, and to be able to hedge volatility and make sure that you can position yourself correctly on the other side of what's potentially going to happen, a large reduction in certain risk on assets. I think Bitcoin and Ethereum could see some pretty substantial downside on the other side of the reverse carry trade unwinding, whereas XRP I think will go much, much higher through a rotation of liquidity and a supply shock that's going to happen to drive the price up to $100 or higher in a very short period of time. And again, this is just my thesis. I'm just one guy. Take it with a grain of salt. If you think differently, that's okay. Doesn't hurt my feelings. I've had enough conversations to feel like I'm right. I'll say that. This is like the champ 678. They say, brother, what a time to be alive. How blessed are we to have this opportunity? Blessings to you and the fam. What do you think about XRP becoming the new ESDR? At this point, we should know XRP was planned, right? Yeah, so I don't think that XRP will be the ESDR. So for those who don't know what the ESDR is, in 1944 at Bretton Woods, John Maynard Keynes proposed the Bancor coin, which would effectively sit at the IMF level makes them a lender of last resort. It's a basket of currencies that will be weighted by their GDP, and they have that. They have the SDR, which is a special drawing right. The ESDR would be the electronic or tokenized version of that. XRP, there's currently 6 or 7, I think 7 currencies that sit in that basket. It's six currencies because China was added not that long ago. So, and obviously it's by GDP, and XRP wouldn't be weighted by those currencies or backed by those currencies. That's not how it works. It would be backed by the volume on the network is really what would hold price stability to drive price higher if there's enough liquidity in the token. But it could be used to settle the ESDR and be the liquidity or the grease for the rails to be able to settle loans or lending when somebody needed the ESDR. The IMF wrote a white paper back in 2014 where they talked about an exchange rate peg, and the abbreviation they put in that paper was XRP. And it just so happened shortly after that, Ripples, which Ripple had at the time, they changed the name to XRP. So I do not think that XRP will be the ESDR. I think it'll be the exchange rate peg, which will be what they use to price global commerce over the long term. And global markets will be priced in drops. And I think that could happen as little as 5 years. which would be wild. Again, I know I sound pretty ridiculous saying that, being as the dollar's been the denomination for global trade for my lifetime and far before that. So to see that shift in that period of time seems unreasonable. But with the progression of the tokenization and the proliferation of, this all being adopted in real world assets and markets and everything moving on chain, and XRP being the backbone of all that, I think it's reasonable to believe that the world will be priced in drops. Not everything, right? Like you'll still have sovereign currencies and CBDCs and other forms of payment. But 5 years from now, I do think that all markets are priced in drops. This person, I'm not even going to take a shot at their name. Thank you for the super chat. They say, oh, there we go. Just call me Nor. They already knew. Thank you for being Neo of the Matrix. 90% of my portfolio is XRP. Then 10% is HBAR, VeChain. What do you think of VET? I actually made a lot of money on VET in 2020. Got in VeChain under a penny and rode that up. Did pretty well. I like Sunny Lou. I like logistics and supply chain management. I think that that's an effective use case for blockchain for sure. And I think over the long term, you'll probably do pretty decent with VeChain. It's obviously an OG. It's been around, and definitely one of the few digital assets that I think has actual utility and is being used in the real world. I got Carlos. He says, if Jake had 100K to put somewhere, what would he do with it? I would buy XRP. Again, that's just my personal preference. You asked me what I would do with 100K. I'm not telling you what to do with 100K or 100 grand. You do whatever you want with it. But if you handed me another $100,000, I'm buying XRP with it. Eddie says, hey, Jake, could you chat a bit about Michael Gates' recent mention of XRP and what could he reveal tomorrow in his long anticipated post? I have an NDA, so I can't talk about that. But you'll see tomorrow. I'm very excited for Michael's post tomorrow. So yeah, I'll leave it there. Let you guys speculate on it. I'm really excited about it, though. I think it's really cool what he's doing, and I'm excited for him to share that with all of his followers on Twitter. Dirty Joe says, thoughts on the oil tanker seizure? I think that's the beginning. I think you guys hear that? It's the winds of change. I love that in Monsters Inc. when the purple lizard says that to Mike. Things are starting to move. The wind is in my sails. I will say that. I do have two other super chats here that I missed from last week that I want to touch on.
It's just the one.
Oh, I have two.
I just want to do a shout out to James Goodwin.
Oh, shout out to James Goodwin in Alabama, from the Tea Lady and me. Appreciate you taking the time out and watching the lives. So two super chats, because I did miss one last week that Mike did share with me over there. Appreciate you, Mike. If you guys don't know Mike, he's in the Discord. He's one of our moderators, and he is fantastic. So shout out to Mike too. I don't give the moderators in the Discord enough love. They do so much over there, and they are very appreciated. And they go above and beyond all the time for the community there in the mastermind. So shout out to them. You would think it would be easy to find here. There he is. All right. So Ryan Young, he gave me a super chat last time, which I missed, so I apologize. He says, Jake, 60K XRP. Can you guys work with me? How much roundabout does it require to set up a trust, etc., to have the XRP locked up safely and make interest back? And where would interest be, and how often is it paid out? There's a lot of questions, but he did pay a lot for the super chat, so thank you, Brian. 60K, we can absolutely work with you at Digital Wealth Partners and for everything that we do. So we do estate planning, we do, tax advisory, accounting, the wealth management. Obviously, over there with Digital Wealth Partners, our minimum there is 50,000 XRP. Or if you don't have at least 50,000 XRP, it can be a total portfolio value, including your traditional stocks, of $500,000. You can work with us, and that can include retirement accounts or qualified accounts as well. So that's the minimum. He asked if that was, how much it took. How much does it cost to set up a trust? It very much depends on the type of trust that you're structuring. So a living trust, we will do those for $500. Probably the cheapest out there that I've ever found for a living trust set up in your state. It could be revocable or irrevocable, however you want to do it. Very simple living trust, but it just provides probate protection, and it doesn't provide the creditor protection that a dynasty trust or an intentionally defective grantor trust or spendthrift trust or asset protection trust. Any of those are going to be creditor protection alongside the probate protection. It does take 2 years to season most of those in order to be able to get the full creditor protection. But yeah, it's just depends is really the answer. But it could, those higher end trusts are going to cost you somewhere between 10 and 25,000 in most circumstances. You could do an islet. There's a bunch of stuff there. This person says to have the XRP locked up safely and be making monthly interest. So we do charge $1,000 onboarding fee over there at Digital Wealth Partners. We don't really make a whole lot on that. That's just to set up the account and pay our custodian and do all the KYC, KYB, and all the stuff we have to do for compliance. We do charge an AUM fee at Digital Wealth Partners, and that's 2% for anything less than $5 million. That's annually 2%. So if you had $1 million with us, it'd be $20,000. That would be, distributed over a 12-month period. We do charge or amortized over that period. And so I don't know what that would break down to. If it was 24,000, it'd be $2,000 a month. So it'd be a little less than $2,000 a month. It'd be like $1,600 a month, somewhere in there, if you had $1 million with us. But we do have products to be able to generate returns on XRP today. Up to this point this year, we've paid out 5% on the income fund. And I think the growth fund has done, and these are the original funds that we launched back in April. So if you were in the beginning, this is what the payout's been. I think the other's done about 3% to the upside over the year. So we are going to be launching a new product. We actually, I don't know if I have the press release out on this next one, so I probably should keep it to myself. But you guys will know on your qualified accounts what we've been talking about for a long time to be able to generate returns on your qualified account inside of your IRA, imminently, available for our clients. And excited to roll that out. They'll be able to compound their XRP inside of their IRA and also get some additional cash flow inside of their IRA. And then the CD type product that we're going to be rolling out in the near future, that'll pay you a yield. That'll be a monthly payout, and really excited about that product. Finally, so close here. A lot of these we've been working on for 6 months, and it's been, we love our partners. They're fantastic people. They're fantastic to work with. There's a lot of legal and compliance, and like everybody's, dotting their I's and crossing their T's in order to get stuff across the line. So it's taken a bit longer than, I think everybody would like, but it's done the right way, which is what matters, especially when you're launching something new and innovative. You want it to work, and you want it to work well. So excited to finally get all that stuff to market. And, I had a dinner last night here in Dallas. We had about 20 people at the dinner. I've been hosting these now. This is the third dinner that we've hosted or I've spoken at in the last month or so. We have a lot of people fly in. It's $5,000, and we put you up in the hotel, pay for your dinner. It's you and your spouse, or you and your business partner, or whoever else you want to bring. And you get to meet a lot of other cool people that have a significant allocation to crypto. And we have a nice dinner and get to answer all your questions, right? In person, you get to meet my team. We had most of our C-suite there last night, which was really cool, and really enjoyed that. But we talked about all these things because these are really common questions that almost everybody asks at those dinners. What are the fees? What's it look like? What's the returns, timeframes, payouts, all that stuff. So thanks again, Ryan, for the super chat. And sorry I missed it last week. The other one is from Truest of Hearts. Nice. They say recently a glitch on Coinbase changed my average value almost to $500 after a very small buy. Is this the real price being revealed? I think it was just a bug in their system. There was a lot of people that were having that effect on their average buy. I don't know. I mean, there's been a bunch of glitches on Coinbase over the years. There was one back in, this is probably 21. This is a long time ago. I remember it. But I looked at my account and it was like $21 trillion in my account. You couldn't buy or sell or do anything while that was going on. But it was really cool, to see that amount of zeros in your exchange account. Yeah, just wild to see. So there's always that type of stuff on these exchanges. Every once in a while, something gets wonky and one of the calculations is off. Your average buy is not at that price, but it could be foreshadowing of what's to come. That's what I would say on that. We got Fly Girl. She says, "Hey Jake, thank you for all that you do. Most important question of the night: Army or Navy?" Ooh. My utmost respect to all those that serve, that we've lost. GB. God bless. Army or Navy? I'm going to have to go with Navy because I have multiple family members that have been in the Navy. I have good friends that have been in the Navy. Not that there's anything wrong with the Army. But if I had to pick between the two, I am partial to the Navy because those in my family have served in that branch of the military. So again, same thing she said. All the respect to those that have served our nation and given their life in some way, whether wholly or partially, to the service of keeping us free and taking care of people. So thank you guys. We did actually do a webinar for veterans and first responders back in November. I think it was November 20th. So if you guys haven't watched that webinar and you do want that, you can reach out and we would love to share it with you. If you are a first responder or a veteran, we went over, a lot of the estate planning stuff and things that are specific to people that are participating in those occupations. Stephen, he says, what question would you love to ask and who would you ask it to concerning XRP? I don't really have any more questions. I've already asked them all. And I've talked to everybody that I want to talk to. I've talked to Brad Garlinghouse. I've talked to Monica Long. I've been at Swell the last 3 years. They've been awesome. Jack McDonald, David Schwartz. And I don't talk to them about price of anything. I just ask them about functionality of the network and where things are at as far as adoption goes, when they think certain things will be available. And with that, you can kind of discern some things in and of itself without having to say, well, when's it going to moon? Like that's not going to ever go over well. That is probably the most uneducated question a person can ask. Not that it's a bad question, because if you're new here, I mean, that's the obvious question. You're making an investment. You're looking for a return on it. I get that. But if you've done the research, you should be able to communicate with people in a way where you're able to make some discernment on time frame and appreciation based on adoption of the network, amendments, what partnerships are available, how's this going to be used, and in what capacity. Is XRP a commodity, a security, or a currency? Like that's been answered. All those things have been answered. So I don't have, XRP is a foregone conclusion in my mind. And I don't have any additional questions about it. I know that it's going to be $100, $1,000, $5,000, $10,000, $50,000, $100,000. And the first jump's going to be very fast. And then over time, it'll continue to rise in value as it's used in a much greater capacity. And so for me, like I'm looking at how to make sure you protect yourself, manage your estate, invest it, generate returns on it, borrow against it. And that's why we've built what we have over the last 3 years at Digital Ascension Group. Because in 2022, I consolidated my entire position into XRP. At that point, I didn't even have any more questions then. I had enough conviction to do that in February of 22. So for me, I've known for a long time. I've just become more convicted with all of the conversations that I've had and the questions that I've asked, but I really don't have any left at this point. I've asked all the people. I've been very blessed, and it's very humbling to have been in positions to be able to meet all of the people and ask them all the questions that I wanted answered. And I think that's what also gives me a unique perspective and allows me to sit very comfortably here in December of 2025, telling you how comfortable I am with price predictions by the end of the year. So, Alcatraz says XRP velocity needs to be low in order for price to be high. Is that correct? Not necessarily. It depends on the total amount of XRP that's being used and for how much volume. Can you explain what needs to happen for it to stay low in the future? Seems like it would increase with all the adoption. Because it will? I'm confused by your tactics. I'm with you. I think with significant volume on the network, you're going to see a much higher priced XRP in the not too distant future. We got 7U. They say, Jake, I trust you more than anybody else in XRP. I will be working with you guys after price appreciation very soon. Can you explain in simple terms the fees for both custody and return / yield? Still confused. So I'll talk about it this way. I structured this for me. I'm a client. Okay. Other wealth managers charge you 1% to 2% per year, irrespective of what they're doing for you. Doesn't matter if they make you money, anything. I get that piece. We're a wealth manager. I got to deal with compliance. I got to deal with red tape. I got to deal with partners. I got to deal with paying employees, office. There's overhead, right? So you need some type of cushion to make sure that you're going to make enough business, like make enough money to cover your expenses and pay your employees. And beyond that, like everything else needs to be structured where irrespective, well, and even that's structured, like we want you to hold your assets, which is where I think we're very different than everybody else. We want you to hold your assets and experience the appreciation because we make money with you in that. If you sell them off, we make nothing. The trading fees that we charge are 20 basis points. So the AUM fees are in alignment with both of our interests. And that's why we structured it that way. As your assets appreciate below $5 million, we charge 2%. Over $5 million, that drops to 50 basis points or 0.5% per year. So these are all per year. So the AUM fee is assets under management. Less than 5 million is 2% over the year. Over 5% is 0.5% or 50 basis points over the year. Anything over $10 million drops to 40 basis points over the year, or 40% of 1%. And I structured it that way because I'm extremely confident that almost all of our clients will be above that $10 million threshold. They all have 50,000 XRP, goes to $100. They're at least at the 5 million or more. And if it goes to $1,000, they're all at $50 million and way above that 10 million. Okay. So that's the AUM fees. And then the performance fees. So again, I structured this how I would want it. We don't take any performance fees on the appreciation of your assets. So anybody that brings us assets, you made those investments. We didn't do anything for that. So why would we be entitled to any upside on the investments? We wouldn't be. So if you buy more XRP with us, also like that's your investment. We didn't tell you to do that. Sometimes we do, but we still don't take any of the upside on those investments. The only way we make any more money than the AUM fees is we have to make you an additional 8% on your total portfolio over the year. And if we're able to make you an additional 8% beyond the appreciation of your assets, you get all of that. You get the whole first 8% goes to you. I don't know if you guys have ever like syndicated a real estate deal, but they'll pay an 8% pref. So the first 8% of returns always goes to the investors. Now, in real estate deals, they do a catch up. So the whole next 2% goes to the GP. We don't do that. You get the whole first 8%, and then we just go 80-20, 80% to you, 20% to us on everything after the 8%. And again, that doesn't include the appreciation on your crypto. So we have to really do something good to be able to generate that. We've got to create solutions and products with partners that are exceptional in comparison to anything else on the market. And we still need to mitigate risk and do it the right way, because our number one rule is, guess what? Don't lose XRP. Rule number 2, refer to rule number 1. So there's going to be a lot of years, you know, I think where we're probably going to be somewhere between 10 and 12% is what we're going to be able to generate clients. At least that's what I'm targeting. I think that that is a very good return in addition and above and beyond the appreciation on your XRP or your other crypto. And if we're able to do that, I think it's fair that we're compensated, you know, 20% for everything after the 8%. But there's going to be clients where they don't want to make more than 8%. They're going to be very happy with a very low risk return, somewhere between 4 and 8% a year, where we just make AUM fees and we still provide them with the advisory. We still provide them all of the products and solutions that we're creating, and they have ways to leverage it, and then all the other additional advisory that we have. So, if you're 70 years old, we're probably not going to be super aggressive with your portfolio, unless you're part of a family office and you're, trying to grow it at 8 to 13% a year or 8 to 15% a year. Then obviously, we'll be aggressive with a small portion of the portfolio. But if most people are, a shorter term time horizon, they're using these funds to retire. They want to, live their lifestyle, but invest in philanthropic stuff. And it's not necessary that they make a significant return beyond 8. That's cool. We want to make sure that people have avenues to do it, that want to do it, and other people have very safe ways to generate secure yield and returns on their XRP, because compounding is what really grows your wealth over the long term. So I know that was a really long-winded question or long-winded answer to a question, but hopefully that gives you guys a little bit more perspective on how the fees are structured over there at Digital Wealth Partners. User says, Jake, can you please don't sell DWP when BlackRock comes knocking on the door. Love what you do for us in the community. You're an inspiration to all. God bless. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. I don't plan on ever selling any of this. Personally, if BlackRock comes knocking on the door, I obviously have to entertain the conversation, because I don't want to die. My family needs me. I don't want to be in a bad spot, but I'm always going to make sure that our clients are never a number. They're going to be people. They're going to have relationships with their advisors. We care about our clients. They are never going to be a number for us at Digital Wealth Partners or a Digital Ascension Group. Steven, we already went over that one. Kick me up in the chat again here. I'm going to go way down. I'm going to go ahead and call it and say stop putting in super chats now, because I'm going to go all the way to the bottom, and then we're going to work our way back up so that we don't miss any in the last hour here. All right. Who asked about Xena down here? I saw something. No, I don't know where it went. Wait, says dog, J-Dog. What's up, my man? What's good? Can you speak on the DTCC having a patent to use XRP and XLM? Not XLM. they don't have a patent to use XLM. Oh no, my TV has decided to. What just happened? I'll put it back up here. Sorry. Connect. All right, that should do it. Okay. The patent. So there's not really a patent, but well, you know what? It's not going to work. We're just going to turn that off back there. What is going on? Stop. I'm gonna take this off here and just close this other browser. Okay. So Project Ion was developed between the DTCC and R3. And they do have patents around that. That's for back-end settlement of the stock market and reconciliation. And the OCC just regulated that banks and institutions can hold digital assets in order to pay fees for sending payments over networks. So there's really, the OCC has given all of their oversight and put things in place where banks and institutions can hold crypto and use it. The CFTC is given clarity to the ones that needed it to be able to facilitate back-end settlement of commodity trading and the FX market. And we also had the president of NASDAQ, when she was interviewed by Monica Long at Swell, talk about the first place that they're going to use distributed ledger technology is to settle the back end of the stock market and reconcile those trades between the clearinghouses and the brokers, which is what I've been saying for, again, 18 months. So it's great to hear that validation, but those are the patents that they have. That does not involve XLM. Alan, Forever X, says, is this the correct understanding? Carry trade unwinds, margin calls liquidation, T+1 settlement, too much at risk. DTCC relies on T+0. DTC members purchase XRP price rises. The first three pieces of that, yes. And to your point, T+1, because there's going to be so many unrealized losses with the Bitcoin ETFs, they will need real-time settlement, so they'll move to T+0. But it's not the DTCC that's going to be purchasing XRP. The DTCC doesn't make any money, just so you all know. It's basically a public good and infrastructure. They make enough money to pay their bills and really operate at a small loss most of the time. The reason that XRP will rise is because there's going to be other mechanisms where they lock up the supply, and through the ETFs, through commodities, through derivatives, through other situations where people are going to be holding on to large amounts of XRP to be able to facilitate gas fees on the network, banks and institutions holding it. There's just not going to be that much left and available on the market to move value, for one, and two, for purchase on exchanges. There's probably down to 1 billion. Binance had dropped in the last week. 1.3 billion XRP is no longer available on their exchange. It's down to a couple 100 million XRP that's available on Binance. That trend is across the board. And I do think that the OTC desk and the dark pools are going to be dry up here in the very near future also. And the only place to be able to buy it is going to be from retail. And if you guys are like me and you're not selling your XRP, they're going to have a hard time sourcing any. And so when there's supply and demand differential there and not much available supply and a huge amount of demand, guess what happens to price? It goes way up. If you took economics in high school, I mean, you've seen the graph, right? So if you understand that, then it's pretty simple to see why the price would move as high as I've been talking about. And then once the price is above $100, they would begin to be able to use it on the back end of the stock market to start settling those transactions to de-risk. And again, my speculation is the BlackRock ETF that they filed the A8 for is an XRP ETF spot. William Griffin says, Jake, can you speak to how Basel III SCO 60 crypto standards and the CFTC's new tokenized collateral guidance together prove the direction of travel here? So Basel III is going to require that there's an audit or a one-to-one for the paper, gold, silver, whatever metals are being traded. Obviously, we know that's been manipulated. I do think that there's substantially more gold than is actually reported out there. Well, yet to be seen. We'll see if that's the case or not. And then as far as the tokenized collateral guidance, everything is going to move on chain. All of these markets are going to move on chain. And if you wanted to actually implement Basel III and have an auditable one-to-one tracking for these, metal derivatives, you need some way to do that that's trackable and traceable, and you need it to be on blockchain. So, to your point, for them to be able to implement that standard, they would have to implement tokenization on the back end of this stuff. And I do think that both of those things correlate to exactly what you're discussing, which is a significant adoption of this technology in that capacity that will lead to significant amount of price appreciation for certain assets, XRP in particular. We got Will. He says, "Hey Jake, thanks for everything that you do. May you always sleep on the cool side of the pillow." Thank you, my dude. What will it take for XRP to decouple from Bitcoin? BlackRock ETF and the rotation out of Bitcoin ETFs into the XRP ETFs. Anthony says, if XRP doesn't get to $100 in December, we all know it's coming soon. We believe you, legend. Keep up the great content. God bless. Thank you, man. It's hard to determine timeframes on things, but the proof is in the pudding. All of it's right here, ready to go. It's just about when they want to roll this. So, is it here this year? I think so. Could it bleed into Q1? Sure. But I don't know that it's going to go much further past that, because again, once the Clarity Act is passed, some of the moat that XRP has around it is going to be removed. And so highly confident that we are going to see the adoption of XRP before the Clarity Act is passed. This person says, how do I get more info on your mastermind class, the LLC in Wyoming? So you can go to digitalfamilyoffice.io. And there's a full page there on the services page where I have a video that talks about the Wyoming LLC, why we structure it that way, the attorney-client privilege, the creditor protection, the ability to use the full breadth of the tax code, no state taxes there in Wyoming, and the regulation in Wyoming is extremely progressive when it comes to crypto. We provide you an EIN, articles of organization, certificate of good standing, the registered agent there in Wyoming, alongside the operating agreement, corporate veil program, banking memorandum, basically an end-to-end solution for the maintenance of your LLC to maintain your corporate veil and creditor protection, and then also the operating agreement, which is crucial to this. We're really the only people that have crafted it the way that we have, that provide you all the benefits for that type of entity. We also give you a step-by-step process on how to move your assets into the LLC, and make sure that there's no tax implications when you're doing it, because that's a big mistake that a lot of people make. And if you're working with people that aren't very competent and haven't been through all the trials and tribulations that we have and worked with the attorneys that we have in order to structure this the right way, it's very easy to make mistakes. So if you are competent and capable, you can probably get this done for a lot less. We charge $2,000, but for you to just draft the operating agreement with most attorneys out there, you're going to be somewhere between $1,500 and $2,500 in most circumstances, even in Wyoming. So, if you want to work with us, it's $2,000 for everything. If you use the code 50OFF50 OFFDAG LLC, that's 50 OFFDAG LLC. On the other side of price appreciation, it will be full price. We are no longer going to be able to offer that code. So if you want to get it done for $2,000, now's the time to do it. Otherwise, post price appreciation, it will be $4,000 to work with us on the LLC and get all of the other additional features that we're going to be rolling out in Q1 which I'm also very excited about. We always want to provide more value anytime we increase the price. And so again, bank accounts alongside that are immediately set up. I think people will be very happy for that feature along with a few other things. So excited about that. But again, post price appreciation, that discount code is going away. And if you have at least $50,000 to $80,000 in your crypto portfolio today, if you have less than that, it's probably not worth it. You could wait till post price appreciation. But if you have at least that much, it would behoove you in a cost to benefit to go ahead and get the LLC set up now versus later. We got CFH. Thank you for the super chat. Marin, they say legend. Carbon One here. Just wanted to express my appreciation for all that you do. My appreciation for all you are doing for you are, golly, I'm tired. I've been traveling too much. I need more sleep. Just wanted to express my appreciation for all you are doubting. Oh, it's supposed to be doing. That's why it messed me up. Doing for us. God bless your family. Thank you, and the tea lady. Thank you so much for the kind words and being part of the community. Super excited to have you there in the mastermind. And again, this is the last week on the 15th. We will no longer be offering $2 to be able to get into the group and try it out. So very low risk. If you don't like it, it's month to month, no contract. You can leave at any time. But we have over 15,000 people there in the mastermind that are choosing to stay month and month and month because of all the value we provide in there. There's a lot of things I talk about there that I can't hear in a public forum. And, I share a lot more there in the community. We do in real life events, put those on a regular basis. The last 4 that we've had have had, close to 300 or 400 people at those. It's just been wild to see all the wonderful relationships that have been created and the culture that still exists there, and how many people want to help other people and learn more and for them and their family, and make sure that they get this right. So if that's you and you want to be part of something really cool and have a bunch of cool friends to go to fun stuff with post price appreciation, I can guarantee you the mastermind is where you want to be. Husker says, do you think supply shock will happen before Ripple's bank charter and the Clarity Act? Thank you for the great content. Go Army. Bank charter, I'm not sure. Clarity Act, yes. I do think the price appreciation will absolutely happen before the Clarity Act passes. But for the bank charter, I do think that Ripple is very close on that. Word on the street was it was supposed to happen in November. We didn't see that, obviously. So they are past the traditional period at this point for their review. It's weird that it's taking this long, but that could happen right at the same time or right before we see price appreciation, or maybe right after. Also, I don't know, but imminently they should be getting that charter. Primal Waits says, legend. Did you make an announcement yesterday? I think I missed it. I'm on board with DWP and stoked. Can I have my spouse be on the account, even if she is not on the LLC? Thanks for everything. Yeah, absolutely. We can add her as a signer on the account. No problem at all. You'd probably want to make her a manager or have her involved in some capacity in the LLC. She could be treasurer. She could be on the board. You could do a bunch of different things to make sure she's involved and has access or the ability to, see the accounts and do stuff with them. But again, that's one of the reasons we structure things as a single member LLC. Unless you're in a qualified joint venture state, you would have tax implications if you structured it as a partnership. And I know other people out there are doing that. So just, again, please work with somebody that knows what they're doing on the tax side. It's one thing to know on the legal side what to do, and I found this out working with as many attorneys as I have. Everybody has their domain of expertise, and it's hard to find somebody that has a holistic view of everything when considering, taxation, compliance, and all the legal implications when you're dealing with stuff. You want to work with seasoned professionals. We've hired people that have worked at large law firms, Bessemer Trust, many other, family offices, and high net worth individual service providers. And because of that, we have a really robust understanding across all of our professionals that work with us to provide you the top tier service that you would expect. We got Kunde. I'm butchering it. I'm sorry. I need to get better. They say I'm in Australia, and the government treats transfers of assets into trust as capital gains or capital events here, meaning 15 or 25 to 50% tax just to transfer into a trust. Is it the same in the US, and how can I mitigate this? We have a gift tax exemption here if you're gifted out of your taxable estate of up to $13.99 million this year, $15 million next year. So as long as the value is less than that, there's no tax implications for gifting the assets into the trust out of your taxable estate. I know that it's that way in Australia. I would still do it if I were an Aussie and I was going to stay there. Reason being is you're going to pay the taxes and then it can grow inside that tax free. And if you haven't seen the significant appreciation yet, if you wait till post price appreciation to do that, you're going to be slapped with much more taxes than what it would be. So as an example, let's say you did it today. You got a million XRP at $2. Just bear with me. I know many people don't quite have that much, but for the example, it's easy math. So you had a million XRP, it's $2, it's $2 million. You move it into a family limited or a family trust there in Australia. So let's say we're going to call it 25% tax. We'll call it 50% tax. So it's $1 million tax. Over the next year, the assets appreciate 1,000x to $2,000 each. So you went from 2 million, now you've got $2 billion inside the trust. You think you're going to be okay with paying that $1 million in tax? I would be. So timing matters for sure, right? Because if the value of the assets at the end of the year aren't, significantly higher than when you actually put them into the trust, then yeah, you're going to have to liquidate half of them to move and pay those taxes. But if you anticipate appreciation on the assets, it would behoove you, the sooner you can get it in there at the lower the price it is, especially if you're anticipating a significant appreciation, it's going to be a percentage of the long-term appreciation that you're going to be paying versus the other. Couple more super chats here. We got Roka SSC 27. Thank you for the super chat. They say, thanks for dinner. It was great meeting you and your staff. Looking forward to the future, Ron and Jamie. Thank you guys so much for coming. It was great meeting you guys. It's been cool. So, early on, I did Zoom calls for free 3 years ago when I started this out. It's not like, this just happened overnight. Obviously, it's happened very quickly, but I was on Twitter for 8 months, putting on, spaces every single Saturday morning, talking about all this stuff back then. And then, when we started the mastermind and started doing the family office stuff, I just said, hey, if anybody wants to schedule a time with me, you can. And it was just me back then meeting with people, trying to help them out. And there's been a lot of OGs that have been around the mastermind or reach back out or set things up early and have come back around to work with us on the wealth management. And Ron and Jamie, it was great to see them last night. It was kind of full circle, I think we had to help them set up their LLC before we even offered LLCs in 2023. So, very early on. So anyway, great to connect with you guys. Thanks again for coming to the dinner. Excited to be working with you in the very, very near future. We've got the Sunflower Life. They say the transition from the current fiat system to a blockchain-backed digital currency system is going to take quite a leap in terms of understanding for the average human being. Can you explain how everyday banking is going to work in your view? How is it going to look? It'll look exactly the same as it does now. The average person's not even going to know anything changed, except stuff's going to settle faster. They're going to get paid faster. They'll be able to pay other people faster. They won't have to pay as much in fees. Wire fees won't cost as much. There won't be overdrafts on your account because all the money will settle real time. There's no way to double spend the money. The average person is going to have zero clue that this even happened. They'll have tokenized deposits, and they won't even realize they're tokenized deposits in their digital wallet at their bank. It's just their money. They're going to put it in the bank, and they can move it real time. They can send it over the weekend. They can send it during evenings. They don't have to wait for the bank branch to be open. They'll be able to send money between payment apps, like emails, right? They're not going to understand the technology at all. They don't care. Like when I send an email, I don't care how the email protocol works. I just care that you get the email. And to the average person, that's exactly how all this is going to work out. It's just going to be an upgrade for them. There'll be real-time settlement on stuff. You'll get paid faster. Things will be easier. You'll have your money quicker. Like that's all people really care about at the end of the day. And that's how it affect their life. And that's what it'll mean to them. It won't be, I have to understand blockchain and crypto wallets and exchanges and, how all of the encryption works and, mining and trend, like they don't care. So the front end, the UI user interface that you work with today, it'll remain exactly the same. Things will just happen faster. And if you want to buy a house, that'll be faster, cheaper, all that fun stuff. But for the average person, they don't care to actually understand how it happens. We already went over this one. We got one more here. We got Kurt, my man. He's 1222 on the super chat. Very interesting, sir. Thanks for all that you do. People don't express enough gratitude for the value you've given. When a person says, I've been afforded assurances, you should be very mindful. The beginning is the end. Appreciate that, my man. Thank you for the kind words and the super chat. We are 2 days away from the Flare airdrop snapshot. So many of you probably are new here. So we're 2 days away from the 5-year anniversary of the Flare snapshot. Sorry, that's, anybody that's telling you you're getting Flare today is a scam. This happened a long time ago. So in 2020, on December 12th, they took a snapshot of the ledger and they used that to distribute Flare tokens or Spark tokens after 2 years. It took a while for you to actually get the distribution after they took the snapshot. But it was really interesting that they took that snapshot about a little more than a week before the SEC sued Ripple. So if you knew that was coming and you wanted to take a snapshot of the 2.7 million wallets that existed and how much was in those, interesting timing on doing that. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that 5-year anniversary is going to mean anything. You guys want some tinfoil hat? I'll give you some tinfoil hat. So in some of the references that have been made to XRP, a lot of people have talked about it as bamboo. And if you look up bamboo and how long it takes to grow, you have to water it and take care of it for about 5 years. And in 30 days, it'll grow 60 feet tall. So did the bamboo grow 60 feet tall in 30 days, or did it grow 60 feet tall in 5 years? Well, it was a full 5 years. You had to go water it and do all the stuff and watch it and nurture it and make sure that it got to the point where it could grow, right? That's what I think Ripple and the XRP community have been doing over the last 5 years. I think that we've been, taking care of this asset, making sure that it had the ability to sprout and grow. And when it goes, I'm highly confident it's going to grow very tall very quickly. So, if you look at the bearable guy stuff, there was one picture 2 Christmases ago in the greenhouse, and on the left-hand side is a bunch of bamboo. So we'll see if there's anything to that or not. Again, with the 5-year anniversary of the Flare snapshot here in 2 days, things that make you go, we'll see, what actually ends up shaking out on that. A couple more super chats here. We get about an hour and a half in. We'll hang out for another 30 minutes or so, and then we'll wrap it up tonight. We got Thumpat. Dompat 68. Butchered that again. I'm sorry. Again, I'm tired. I've been running and gunning the last couple days. Less than 50,000 XRP minimum for DWP to add trust and custody. Should I go with DAG to create Wyoming LLC and do Spendthrift Trust post appreciation? I can't tell you what to do. We offer those services. If you do have more than 50,000 XRP, we would love to work with you over there, Digital Wealth Partners. You do need an LLC. So there's other people that do that out there. I just want to make sure people have the information, the understanding, and like don't mess it up. But if you do want to work with us to do it, we would love to work with you. All you got to do is go to Digital Wealth Partners, Digital Family Office for the LLC, digitalfamilyoffice.io. And there is a services page. You go to the LLC creation, and we will set you up a holding company that manages alternative investments with a sleeve for your crypto. It'll be a single member LLC in most circumstances, a disregarded entity, so that when you transfer it in there, you're mitigating taxes. We provide you the step-by-step process on how to move it in there the easiest way. You don't have to buy another wallet, set up a bank account, buy the, other cold wallet, send it to this one or that one, mess stuff up. We make it super simple for people. And then as soon as you have that set up, it takes 3 to 5 business days most of the time, $2,000, and then you're good to go. We'll make sure that you maintain the corporate veil, and you have the creditor protection if you work with our team over there at Laughlin, paralegal service that we use. And then, again, after that, you'd be able to contact Digital Wealth Partners. Go to digitalwealthpartners.net and use the contact us form and reach out, and an advisor will help you make sure that you protect your assets, get them into institutional custody, and then have all the ways to be able to generate returns on them, yield in the very near future, and be able to borrow against it if you so choose. Mr. Delha, they say, hi, aren't you worried that calling for 100 to 750 by the end of the year could hurt your credibility if it doesn't happen? Any info on who you're talking to regarding XRP and mass implementation? Cheers. Yeah, that's absolutely a concern. But I come out here and I still talk about it anyway because I'm highly confident that it's going to take place. And I would, it would hurt my credibility more if I had the information that I have and didn't come out here and talk to you guys about it. Because if you thought it was going to go to $5 or you thought it was going to go to $10 and you made plans for that, and then it goes way beyond it and way did past more than your dreams, your wildest dreams, and you're not prepared for that type of situation, you're going to be caught off guard and you're not going to know what to do. And we all know it's going to go there. There's a lot of people like that say my time frame is ridiculous, but they also talk about high prices, right? They're not telling you what to do for those high prices. They're telling you to sell it and buy back and do these other things. I would be remiss, and I would feel like I did you guys a disservice if I didn't come out here and talk about this stuff before it happened, and at least give you the start to where you're thinking about that situation, because it's going to happen, whether it's in my time frame or not. Okay, like I'll just say that I'm extremely confident it's going to happen in the very near future. Other people tell you it's going to take longer. We're both right. It's going to happen. But most people aren't telling you, if it's an imminent rise like that, you're not going to, if you're thinking $5 or $10, that plan is going to be very different than 100 or 750 or 1,000. Extremely different. So I just want to make sure that people are aware that is a likely scenario that could play out, and make sure that they're thinking through that and planning for that type of scenario. Even if they have plans for both. Maybe you have a plan for $5 or $10 if that's all it does, or you have a plan for 100 or 750 or $1,000 in a very short period of time. And hopefully you've positioned yourself and structured things the right way beforehand. And that's the other thing. Like if you thought it's going to $5 or $10, you got time, right? It's fine. It's going to slow rise, and it'll go up and down, and it's going to take it a while to get to those high prices. And I have plenty of time. You don't have time. You don't have time. And if you don't structure things the right way before something like I'll give you an example. We've worked with lots of people that sell their company, and if they don't structure things the right way before they sell their company and they have a liquidity event, they end up paying through the nose in taxes, and they don't have the protections, and they always wish that they had started sooner and started structuring things before they thought they were ready. Every time. I did a podcast earlier today with a gentleman that works on our insurance side about that exact topic. So if nothing else, you don't even have to work with us, but just please entertain the prices that I'm talking about and give some thought to it. When that situation plays out, what you're going to do. Couple more super chats here. We got John. He says President Trump is a very proud man. He sure is. Do you think he will let oil spike? He is always tweeting and talking about low gas prices and keeping oil low and having a strong economy, etc. I don't care if oil spikes here in the US. It may not. It just needs to spike in Japan. The crude priced in yen needs to spike. It doesn't need to spike in dollars. Now, if there is a global oil shortage or a large supply route that's cut off, it's going to affect oil prices globally. But they just seized an oil tanker in Venezuela. You don't think that had some impact on oil today? It sure did. So I think Trump wants what's best for America. And I'll also tell you this, Trump is somebody that will go through suffering and pain in order to achieve an outcome that's for a better good. And whether you like him or not, okay, there's a lot of people that I have a lot of respect for that I don't necessarily like as a person. I respect Trump in the highest regard as far as his business goes. He's a very intelligent businessman, and he's tactical. And there's a few other people that I would hold at that level and have that amount of respect for. So again, whether you like him personally or not, or like his personality, I don't care. I'm not here to play politics, but you got to commend him. Like, he does command respect, and he commands respect from other nations, like people that run other nations. Not a pushover. He might be a little crazy, but what did wasn't Roosevelt? Might have been Roosevelt. As talk softly and carry a big stick. He's got a big, stick, and he will lay it down if he needs to. So if he believed that oil needed to spike in order for the reverse carry trade to unwind to relieve our debt and set us up for a better tomorrow, I am highly confident he would make that choice. Because again, in the short term, there might be some suffering, but it would be for a long-term outcome. And again, he's not going to get reelected. Okay, so this is his second term. So he can do a lot of things that are controversial, that are for the betterment of society over the long term, and not have to worry about people's reactions, because he's not trying to get elected again. So anyway. Scrolling on up here, we got Daniel. He says, "Hey Jake, Carbon One member here. Awesome, dude. Good to see you. How do we stay safe during price appreciation if we do not have the amount you recommend to start the LLC and are not part of DWP? Just hold it on your cold wallet. Sit on your hands." I know people are going to get excited. They're going to get emotional. We will absolutely be there in the mastermind when all of it's going on to make sure, we're managing people's emotions. Everybody will be very excited. You don't want to make rash decisions. So I would highly recommend. So I keep saying so. I don't know if you've ever watched videos on lottery winners, but if you want to give it a Google or go onto YouTube and talk about things lottery winners should do, I would highly recommend most people watching this go do that. It's going to tell you don't spend. The first thing it's going to tell you is one, don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody. Call your attorney, your CPA, and your spouse. Those are the three people. I don't care what order it is. Your spouse probably get mad if they're the last one, so I probably wouldn't do that. But those are the three people you need to call. If you don't have an attorney and a CPA, you need to get one. Okay. And then you're going to sit on your hands for 6 months. You're going to work. You're living your life. You're going to live on your normal cash flow. You're, not going to rush into things. You're going to get used to having the money. And if you can do that, if you can be disciplined and do that, you're going to be much more successful. And start to surround yourself with the right professionals, educate yourself over that 6 months. That's what I've been encouraging people to do here. Get your financial education now before you become a lottery winner. Because effectively, that's what all of you guys are going to be that are invested in certain digital assets. It's going to be an explosion. It's going to be fast. You're going to make a bunch of money in a very short period of time, or what's going to feel like a very short period of time. Some of you, it's not such a short period of time. Some of us have been out here for 5, 6, 7, 8 years. So hopefully, you've done the work. You prayed about it. This person asked me if you're religious. I am religious. Hopefully you've prayed about it and you're right with the universe or your God. Again, I'm non-denominational as long as you got some relationship with it. I talk to Jesus every day. So, but back to the point here, you need to make sure that you have the financial education and the resources and professionals around you to be able to make good decisions with that money. And if you immediately jump into buying liabilities and splurging and making uneducated decisions, owing a bunch of taxes because you weren't structured the right way and you didn't know what to do from the jump, lottery winners owe a bunch of taxes. If you take the lump sum, you're paying 40% tax in most states, right? And the annuitized payments, most people don't want to do that. They want the lump sum up front because they think they can manage that money better than the lottery. Cool. I get it. But most people can't. Most people don't know how to manage money. They don't have a financial education. They don't have a good wealth manager, CPA, accountant, estate planner, tax attorney. Those are your 5 people that you need around you. This person says Panama. Panama is great. I learned about Panama not too long ago. We did a documentary with some guys that were talking about the future of money and the history of money. And Panama has some really good protections for U.S. residents. So anyway, hopefully, again, you guys have used this time over the last couple of years, if you've been here that long, to educate yourself, make sure that you understand what's going on and you can make the best decisions. But if you are, not able to get into institutional custody with us yet, and you just have your stuff on a cold wallet, just sit on your hands. Would be my recommendation for probably 99% of people for 6 months. If you can do that and have that discipline, you're going to be in a much better position when you pull your head up. Most people are going to quit their job and buy a home and a bunch of liabilities and be broke in 2 to 3 years and probably have to file bankruptcy, which is very unfortunate. Michael says, hi, Jake. Why is it that XRP needs all these catalysts to make 3 digits when Bitcoin, ETH, Sol, and others didn't? That's a good question. So Bitcoin has it has a much more limited supply than XRP. And has and always will, because it's only 21 billion or 21 million that'll ever be available. So that's why Bitcoin, again, supply and demand dynamics. Sol and ETH both have smart contract capability, whereas XRP doesn't. We might end up getting hooks migrated to the mainnet where it has lightweight smart contracts like XLM. XLM, you also haven't seen a huge price rise in that, even though they've implemented Soroban smart contracts. There's been a bunch of other things that have tied up those tokens that limit the supply. And now we have that same dynamic playing out for XRP with the spot ETFs that have launched. You've got, DATs, you've got, collateral or capital that's being held for the commodities trading. You got other derivatives that are being launched on XRP. You got stable coins and other things on the XRPL that are causing more volume in transactions. anytime you see more volume in transactions on a network, you're going to get price appreciation of the underlying asset. And so, Solana and Ethereum, because of the smart contract capability they had on those networks, NFTs were huge on those networks. We really didn't get a whole lot of volume for NFTs on the XRPL and adoption here. And then you've also seen a bunch of other smart contracts developed in Python and Solidity and on Solana that have real world, some real world application. The lending protocols also have, tied up a bunch of the supply. We have XLS 66, which will be borrow lend native on the XRPL, which I think will also, cause XRP to be locked up and less be available, and less supply and more demand means higher price. So those three in particular that you mentioned there, they've already had situations where the supply was limited and there was a significant amount of demand for the asset, and that's what caused the appreciation of those tokens and the liquidity move into those ecosystems. And we're right here on the forefront of that for XRP. So hopefully, that's why we need all these catalysts and we need the adoption of the network so that we get the volume and then the price appreciation. We got Pyro. They say, maybe you already covered this, but I just got here. Can you talk about your bet? Yeah, I could talk about my bet. So I have a public bet with an account on Twitter named Scams. Scams Daddy is his actual name. Scams is very intelligent, but he's kind of a troll, and he's more of a Bitcoin person, which is fine. Again, we have clients that hold large amounts of Bitcoin. I got nothing against that. There's just he's bet other people and taken their XRP in the bet. And so, I found out that I was in a spaces with him and we got to talking about it. And he said that he had won, he was kind of gloating, that he had won 2,500 XRP or about 2,500 XRP from other people in bets on Twitter. And so I was on Brad Lee's podcast earlier this year, and I had talked about a $2,500 XRP. And I didn't even say $2,500 XRP. That was Brad Lee. He said, so could it get to $2,500? And I was like, well, yeah, it could be this year, but all these things have to play out. But all anybody hears is price and time frame, right? They don't hear all the qualifiers around it. So, and also, like, people clip stuff to make it sexy and like clickbait. I get that. We do some editing and things to make things more attractive. Nothing wrong with it, but I understand why people do it. I just wish that there was always context alongside stuff. And there was in that video, actually. But he reached out and he said, hey, you said 15 to 2,500. We'll go half that. I'll bet you it doesn't go to 750 by the end of the year. And I was like, what do I have to gain from betting you? I've got my conviction. I've obviously got my investments. We built our whole business around it. Don't really care to bet you. And then I thought about it and I said, well, you know what? I'll bet you double or nothing that happens. And whether I'm wrong or right, all of the people that you've won bets from, they get paid back. So keep the running list. Make sure you got all those people. Either I'm going to pay them back with half of my bet that you're going to get, and you get the other half. So now you have double. Or you've got to pay them back, and you've got to pay me 2,500 XRP. And so that's the bet. So we bet $750 by the end of the year, December 31st, 2025 at 12 p.m. or 12 a.m. On New Year's. XRP will be $750 on the CME. He had very specific standards, which I appreciated, actually, because there's a lot of people that will squirm and say this or that. We made it very clean cut, like these are the parameters for the bet. So I made that bet because I want those people to get their XRP back. I have been very blessed in my life. I've accumulated a significant amount of XRP. I've got it to bet. Some of those people don't. Some of those people are W-2 people that, he kind of, I won't say conned. They made the bet. Obviously, people are grown adults. They do what they want. But not everybody has the XRP to give away, especially when the price is going to be as high as it is. I can afford that bet. And so I'm willing to make it and make sure that those people get made whole and they have their XRP for however much they were able to buy. Um, so that's the premise behind the bet. That's what happened, and that's why I have a public bet that XRP will be $750 by the end of the year. All right. Don't know what that is. Ooh, we got one about hash. All right. Shy Divine 08 says, hi, where to buy hash? I live in California and have a Wyoming LLC. Awesome. Do I need to register it as a foreign entity with California? Yes. In California and a few other states, you will have to register it as a foreign entity, irrespective. If you want to buy hash, you can go to Figure Markets or Osmosis are the two exchanges that currently have hash listed. Hash, HASH, all capitalized, is the token. It is the token on provenance. I did a video, golly, probably 3 or 4 months ago at this point, where I looked at total addressable market cap for all of the different financial products that exist out there. And hash wasn't on my radar at all. But during that process, I looked at tokenization of insurance because, we provide insurance for our clients. We do pretty much any type of insurance you would want as far as life insurance goes as a financial product to make sure that, we can mitigate taxes and help you structure your estate and pass things to your descendants tax-free. So anyway, they're tokenizing life insurance on chain, and they get about $440 million worth of life insurance tokenized. Insurance products globally make up about $8.61 trillion. So anybody tokenizing insurance, I was like, okay, this could be big. It's $3 to $5 billion a day in volume between payouts and premiums paid for the policies. So again, not a small payment flow at all. Not as big as trillions of dollars for Swift or for the back end of the settlement of the stock market, but still substantial. And so, looking at that token and that being the only network that had any insurance tokenized on it, and they're also rolling up collateralized debt obligations or mortgage-backed securities on that network. I had Mike Cagney on my podcast and talked to him about that. Figure just went public not that long ago, so I'm pretty sure Mike's a billionaire at this point. He's had some really good exits in his life, and happy for him. But we know some seed investors also in Figure, and they hold a bunch of token warrants for hash. And so when I talked to them, I said, "Are you bullish?" And they were like, "We are extremely bullish on hash." So again, not financial advice. Hash was the first thing I bought besides XRP in about 3 years. I threw $2,000 at it. Okay, so just so you know, like, that's my full allocation to it. I bought it at 2 cents. You go do whatever you want. But it reminds me of XDC when I bought that. I had to kind of go way around my butt to get it. It wasn't listed on any exchanges, and that's why I was like, okay, like, it hasn't seen the adoption or the big movement yet, and I'm willing to throw a little bit at this because it has real world fundamentals and could be used, and it hasn't seen the big jump yet because it's not listed on exchanges. So do what you want. Again, non-financial advice. The mastermind, anytime I find unique opportunities, whether that's private equity or different tokens or other things out there, you're always going to get that first in the mastermind before it's ever public here. And again, if you want to join the mastermind, you go to beyondbroke.com, use the code BeyondBroke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO like Mary Oscar, all capitalized, gets you the first month for $2, and that is cut off after the 15th of this month. We got KF. They say, general thoughts on future success of XLM, XDC, and Flare. All good. I talked to a gentleman from the XDC today. It was a good conversation. Super bullish. We know Ken over there, who is the advocate for them in the U.S. They've set up a U.S. office in New York. Spoke with Ritesh earlier this year at Crypto Mondays in New York, which is really cool. Then we got to go have dinner with their foundation. XDC, I think, is going to do awesome. XLM Stellar also, I think, is going to do awesome. And Flare, I got to catch up with Hugo in person there at Swell. Had him on the podcast earlier this year also. And I'm bullish on Flare as well. So all good projects in my opinion. And again, none of this is financial advice. Only for entertainment and educational purposes only. You make your own investments, and you should speak with a financial advisor before making those investments. If you need a financial advisor for crypto, you can reach out to Digital Wealth Partners, and they can tell you what to buy. Not me. Kurt, we already went through your super chat, man. I appreciate you. And I mean, look, he's right. Like, I try to tell people, y'all want to question and like, that's fair, right? How do you know? I'm just a guy. I've just been very blessed to be in some unique rooms with some unique people and ask them unique questions. Postmaster says, what you're doing right now is creating ability for regular people to do something with their life. Thank you for that, man. So that's the whole goal of this, right? Like, just so y'all know, Ripple's never going to have a consumer-facing product. They're B2B, they're enterprise. Now, if they partnered with somebody else, B2B, and that person had some distribution to retail, that would be an interesting product that you could bring to market. But yeah, the banks, they don't care about the average person. Even people in my space. So we're a multifamily office. We consult for 10 families. We manage their digital asset portfolio. The other family offices in the space, you need $20 million just to approach them and have a conversation. Same thing with the investment banks or anybody else. You need $20 million to even like get an appointment. We're 100 grand. Like we're making it as democratized as you could possibly make it access to for what's going on. So just I'm trying to do everything that I can to be able to democratize access to this stuff and really bring it down to the average person or closest average person that we can get to. And I'm glad and I appreciate your kind words. We'll continue to build products for the XRP family as long as we can. And that'll be for a long time. So William says, Jake, what do you think about $1,000 for January? It could absolutely happen. Again, I'm very confident in 3 digits this year. 4 digits requires some extra stuff. You need other markets alongside, the back end of the stock market. But now that you have the CFTC and commodities, you've got the FX market with SBI. Maybe they're going to roll it all at one time. And they would need $1,000 XRP to be able to do that. So, yeah, it could absolutely happen. I'm more confident in 3 digits than I am 4 digits, but I'm extremely confident in 3 digits. So, but by January, I mean, if we get 3 digits in December, it could be absolutely 4 digits in January. Again, it's just how many catalysts and like what events transpire and what markets are using it. Henry says, hello, Jake. I hold a dual citizenship between Belize and Canada. How do I move my assets to Belize without paying taxes in Canada? God bless. Thank you for the support in the mastermind. Get the hell out of Canada. It's that easy. Just go back to Belize. Don't spend more time in Canada than you have to. Because Canada is residency based for the taxes there. So if you move back to Belize, even though you're a Canadian citizen, your assets are in Belize and you don't live in Canada. So move away from Canada. It's that simple. And if you can't do that, then you're going to be paying taxes in Canada. I wish I had a better answer for you, but if you go talk to tax attorneys in Canada, they're going to tell you the same thing. Got James. He says, just wanted to donate for the knowledge you share, but jokingly, can you define in the near future? Weeks, not months, James. Weeks, not months. We got U.S. Marine Corps 0311 Luke. Thank you for what you do. Your 99% conviction or confident, but all depends on catalysts playing out, which are multiple macro events all playing out seems strategically improbable. What do you know that you're not telling us? I've already said I've had some conversations with some people, and I'm able to come on here and say what I'm able to say. So if you want to, take that with a grain of salt. Again, I'm not the end all be all. Do your own research. Go have your own conversations if you can. And if you talk to the same people I talk to, then you will come to the same conclusions. Preston, he says, "Hey Jake, what's up with Kevin O'Leary saying Bitcoin and ETH and the rest are poo-poo coins? Why doesn't he see value in XRP?" I have never talked to Kevin. I probably could. I've talked to Kevin Harrington and a few of the other sharks on Shark Tank. I'm sure I know people that know Kevin. If I wanted to have him on my podcast, I probably could. That actually is a good one. I'm going to write that down. Whoever's watching, remind me I need to have Kevin O'Leary, not Kevin Harrington, but Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful, on my podcast. I'm pretty confident I can make that happen. And then we could debate about it. Like I could talk to him about Bitcoin and ETH. And he's a sharp guy. But he also invested in SBF and FTX and was like a huge advocate for that. So do you want to go with what Kevin's investing in? I don't. After he bet on FTX and Luna and some of the other stuff he invested in, the track record is a little off to me. So I mean, he's done extremely well in other stuff. He had a huge exit in his early life and has done very well to be able to manage that capital. He hedges risk. He never invests more than 20% of his total portfolio in any asset class and never any more than 5% in one investment, which I think is a brilliant way to be able to diversify and mitigate risk. So even though that I don't think he understands this asset class extremely well, he has very good rules for diversification and managing his portfolio that I think a lot of other people should adopt post price appreciation. 1970s legend. They say, what's your price prediction on HBAR and XTC end of year and by July 4th, 2026? We have an HBAR ETF. We're not going to get an XTC ETF this year. You could see some liquidity rotate into HBAR. I mean, that's quite possible with the ETF in place from Canary Capital. And I think there's going to be a few other ones also. As far as real world application of HBAR, I don't think you're going to see that at least until mid 2026, like you're saying there with the tokenization of the stock market. I think that's probably going to happen late in 26. So I don't know that you're going to see a huge move on either one of those assets. There'll be a consolidation though. So when Tether implodes, and there is, a lot of liquidity sucked out of crypto, what remains, I do think we'll see some price moves. I'm going to call $1, Bob, on both of those. I think it's possible to see $1 on both of those by July 4th of next year. And I'm probably conservative on that one. I'm also possibly conservative on XRP. We'll see. All right. We got 5 minutes left here, and then we're going to wrap it up tonight. We got Crypto Angel. They say, IB got a social membership. Glad to have you in the mastermind. Just wanted to make sure that moving to Carbon 1 price is locked in at today's price for social members post price appreciation. Yes, everybody that's in the mastermind before price appreciation, all of your pricing at whatever price point you want to go to, whether that's Carbon 1 or Carbon 2, you're grandfathered in at those prices. We will move those prices up for anybody coming in post price appreciation, but you are grandfathered in if you are in the mastermind now. And again, post price appreciation, we're locking the doors. Nobody's allowed in outside of invite only. We will be reaching out to people, and again, it'll be a much higher price. So if you want to lock that in, you want to be part of the fastest growing community in crypto, and with the coolest people and all the great stuff that we have going on, we would love to have you over there. You just go to Beyond Broke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO like Mary Oscar gets you the first month for $2 in social or carbon 1. All right, a couple more super chats, and then we're gonna wrap it up tonight. We got Jake King, my dude. Good to see you, man. Oh, he says King Jake. Oh, okay. Well, I'll take that one too. I knew a guy growing up named Jake King. We played golf together in high school, so I was excited there for a second. He says, I like watching your videos. I really appreciate and I love your predictions. A lot of people like my predictions. Gives me hope in this world. How much do you think XRP will be worth by the end of Q1 2026? Had to ask. I'm going to call 4 digits there. I'm confident in 4 digits by the end of next, Q1 2026, 3 digits by the end of 2025. Steve, he says, we are about to see Solana and XRP partner. Yes, we are, through Axelar. There's a bridge there. They announced that not too long ago. And now they're posting all of the freaking riddles over there at Solana, which I think is hilarious. Also, it is the coin Xi. Is it a coincidence? That's what he was trying to top there. Coincidence that BlackRock and XRP have same address in Texas. I don't know what you're talking about, Steve. We're like $5 from the Texas Stock Exchange at my office. And we're about 30 feet from a Fed master account and window, also in my office. Slate, he says, hey, Jake, without breaks. Jake without breaks. I like that. I'll take it. God bless you, sir. With XRP and Sol, are they more complementary or competitive in nature? And why does it feel like XRP doesn't get as much love with the administration as others? Oh, they get plenty of love from the administration. XRP gets plenty of love from the administration, just not publicly. So everything will end up settling on the XRPL. There's going to be a bunch of networks that are used in different capacities, but they're all going to route back to XRP to settle for finality. And you need interoperability. That's why you need Wormhole. That's why you need Axelar. That's why you need CCIP. There's a lot of different cross-chain mechanisms to be able to reconcile and settle back to the XRPL. And so that's, again, like different applications, different strokes for different folks. But yeah, the administration, they're involved. Triso has a go, says, "G'day, sir. Thank you for you and your team. Also the tea lady, of course. Thank you for the kind words, my man." I'm going to take one more, and then we're going to wrap it up tonight. I'm sorry if I missed your super chat. You can go to the mastermind and send it to me in a DM. Or post it in the Q&A channel, and they will answer it for you also. All of our moderators are going to answer it pretty much the same way I would. Moose says, hey, Jake, how does a retirement account and the beneficiary of the retirement account work with Digital Wealth Partners? We can do retirement accounts. So if you have an IRA, similar to like iTrust Capital or Bitcoin IRA, there's a few other people out there that provide that. We also provide that service, and it's custody there at Anchorage. And we have a product to be able to generate returns inside your IRA, tax deferred or tax free, that we're rolling out. I think they're probably blowing my cover. It's supposed to come out in the near future, imminently. So if you want access to that to be able to grow the assets inside your IRA, we have an exclusive product and an algorithmic trading product that you're not going to get anywhere else besides Digital Wealth Partners. So if you do have an IRA and you got it somewhere else and you want to be able to grow it tax-free or tax-deferred, we can help you with that at Digital Wealth Partners. Can taxes be mitigated? Yeah. If you're funding a qualified account, you're going to be, especially if it's a Roth and you pay the taxes up front, yeah, that's going to grow exponentially over your lifetime, and especially if you're compounding it. Does beneficiaries still have to liquidate retirement account in 10 years? Yes. So you have you have a retirement account that was given to you by somebody that passed away. So I'm sorry for your loss. And yeah, you do have to liquidate it after 10 years. But 10 years is a long time in crypto. So if you've got that type of account and you could get it into crypto, bang on. Yeah, that's going to be great for you. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule to come hang out with me on a Wednesday night over here on TikTok, X, YouTube, and Facebook. If you want to work with us to be able to set up the LLC, again, we would love to help you do that, set up trust, and do all the estate planning. If you have, a decent amount of money in crypto, whatever that means to you, you can just go to digitalfamilyoffice.io, and for the LLC, you can use the code 50OFF, 50OFFDAG LLC. Get you everything end to end for the LLC for $2,000. If you want to reach out and just ask some questions to our team, we got a question over here on TikTok about that. You can just email info at digitalfamilyoffice.io, and our team there will get back to you and answer the question. Discount code again for the LLC is 50OFFDAG LLC. If you want to join the mastermind, we would love to have you in there. Again, fastest growing community in crypto. Month to month, no contract. Come check it out. If you like it, stay. If you don't, that's okay. You can try it out for $2 until next Monday. The code for that is Beyond Broke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO like Mary Oscar gets you the first month for $2 there in Social or Carbon One. International people, we can absolutely help you with trusts. Again, you would just want to email us at info@digitalfamilyoffice.io. And last but not least, if you got at least 50,000 XRP, it's already inside of an LLC or trust or your IRA, or it can be across those. You can work with Digital Wealth Partners to custody your assets, get them to the safest place there is for crypto custody over there at Anchorage. That's why BlackRock holds their assets for their ETFs at Anchorage. They have, the OCC charter, segregated bankruptcy remote insured accounts up to $100 million. And if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, you just go to digitalwealthpartners.net and use the contact us form. And again, our advisors would love to chat with you. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up. Hope you guys have a wonderful Wednesday, a wonderful week, and we will see you on the next one.